It's Saturday. This is the weekend edition video. My name's D7 and we have a lot to talk about. Let's get after it. All right. So here's the deal. On a Friday, we ended the day in bullish territory. The technology stocks doing the best, up 1.5%. US dollar down. Everybody else in bullish territory. The only problem, though, the lagger is financials. Did not like to see that. Silver up by nearly 6%. Gold higher by nearly 2%. And the VIX at 25. On Friday, it dropped 5%. Pretty good. Bitcoin on a rally up over 11,000 right now. Let's look at the broad markets as a whole. Now, this is so interesting, guys. I just spent the last hour and a half redoing all my trend lines because I did not have autosave saved on my charting platform here. There's a link down below on the charting platform. It will save every 5 minutes. I didn't have that clicked, so I used multiple computers, and all the work I did for the last video on with all my lines disappeared. They went to another machine that didn't have them updated. So I've just looked at hundreds of charts literally and redid lines. But here's the deal. When we look at the markets here, the S&P 500 is by far the most important that we need to be paying attention to. We have two trend lines going up, two trend lines converging together, okay? That gives us a nasty bearish divergence, and you can see that here with the centered oscillator MACD. We have a bearish divergence here. We have a rising wedge. Gang, that's no good. A rising wedge on the broad markets is not a good thing. However, in short term, here's the deal. Here's what we have going on. We have a lot of upside opportunity here. A lot of upside opportunity. Long as we stay above this trend line, we should remain bullish in this market, okay? As long as we stay above this trend line. If I go to the weekly chart, now this is so important that you understand what I'm getting ready to show you. This weekly chart of the spider, the S&P 500, is bouncing off of a trend line, but getting ready to deal with two major trend lines on the weekly chart. I think we have more upside to these areas. Look at just the two blue lines. Forget this red line. Blue line here, blue line here. Again, we have a rising wedge on the higher time frame, the weekly chart. If that lower trend line gets broken, woe to the markets. This is trouble city. If that happens, I want everybody to remember this moment in the video. On the video that I did on the weekend of October 10th, 2020, saying that, wow, D7 did say if this lower trend line on the weekly chart broke, the markets were in a lot of trouble, okay? So that's what I'm telling you. You have to know this. If you look at the weekly chart on the diamonds, the benefit it has, the diamonds closed above a trend line, a weekly trend line, and it happened on Friday. Very good close. But if you look at this line and this line, it's still in a rising wedge. Still in a rising wedge, guys. That is not good. Nasdaq, look at this, a rising wedge on the weekly chart. Not good. If that lower trend line gets broken, the markets are in a lot of trouble. I want to look here. We do not have a bearish divergence though. So that is a good thing on the centered oscillator, the MACD. The MACD is a centered oscillator. Don't call them indicators. That'll make you sound like a noob. RSI is on an indicator. I mean, they're all indicators generically, but know the difference between an indicator and an oscillator. So MACD is an oscillator. And it's not just an oscillator, it's not a banded oscillator, it's called a centered oscillator. So it helps to know things. So when you're talking with because when I hear somebody that's been trading for 20 years and they use these terms incorrectly, it's like, just a little bit of effort. And you could know more of the language that, so like I'm learning a lot of language right now to go into my Series 65 and the terms that the brokers and investment advisors, what they use on their side of things. It is a different world, a little antiquated if you ask me, but here we are. Russell's 2000, we broke a major trend line this last week. That is bullish, guys. That's a bullish move, but we have major resistance right here, a big symmetrical triangle. The smaller symmetrical triangle we did break out. The bigger triangle, those two lines right there, we're going to have to deal with that in short order. The financials broke, see this symmetrical triangle? It broke above that. That's really good, guys. I like what I'm seeing here. So on the bullish front, we're still heading higher. We're still doing well. But if the lower trend lines, like if this lower trend line on the weekly chart, guys, if it gets broken, just like on the Russell's 2000, that lower trend line gets broken. Then on the tech stocks, the Nasdaq, that lower trend line gets broken here. You were in a lot of trouble. Silver in a big symmetrical triangle. We got this lower trend line. If it breaks that on the weekly chart, we're in trouble. Gold, if it breaks that lower trend line, we're in a lot of trouble. VIX is in a symmetrical triangle at a major area of support right now. In other words, fear is sitting at support. Usually, when it gets to this level of support, it bounces. Gets to this level of support, it bounces. Gets to this level of support, it bounces. Gets to this low level of support, will it bounce? If so, if the markets bounce, that means fear will increase. If fear is increasing, that's because the markets are diving. So whatever the VIX is doing, the markets are doing just the opposite. So right now we're at major support. If that support gets broken on the VIX, that'd be really bullish for the market. So that will be a good thing, especially breaking a symmetrical triangle in or near the apex. If that does crack and it does go lower, the market should rally, breaking through all that upside resistance that we're dealing with. And if you look at the weekly chart on Bitcoin, we're at major support. If we break that lower support level, we're in a lot of trouble on Bitcoin. But if we can rally above and break that upper trend line, that is really good. I own a little bit of Bitcoin, but I'm mainly in Ethereum on the crypto side. So if I go back here very quickly and look at the daily charts here, I'm going to go to the diamonds. And before I do, if you want to know how to navigate these political environments, how to trade this political environment that we're in, and how to trade the election going forward, if you want our help with that, us teaching you, coaching you, mentoring you, and us taking you in under our wing, there's a link below. Click that link. You get more information on the mentorship that we have coming up. Okay. So if you look at the diamonds, we're going higher, but we're in a big rising wedge. That's trouble city, bearish divergence on the centered oscillator and Nasdaq. Remember, these are daily charts now, okay? If this lower line gets broken, we're in a lot of trouble. But we have all this upside opportunity. So long as it stays above this lower trend line, you got to remain bullish. But if it gets below this on the daily chart and especially on the weeklies, guys, you cannot be long this market anymore. Russell's 2000, we're very extended to the upside. Look for that to give some back. So if small caps start to pull back a little bit, look for the rest of the markets to do the same. Financials broke over on the daily chart, an area of resistance. Guys, this is pretty bullish. I like what I'm seeing there. If we can keep financials higher, that'd be really good. U.S. dollar is in a falling wedge. U.S. dollar so not only is it a falling wedge that's bullish, it also has a bull flag, which is bullish. U.S. dollar is set up to be very bullish going forward. If it does go bullish and we do not track down to this lower trend line, if we break out there, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the stocks and commodities. Those should start to drop southbound. Silver had a big rally on Friday. It released off the support line. Remember I said we're in a lot of trouble if it breaks that support line. What release off of, that's what we need to see. This is a big symmetrical triangle. Look for that to hopefully break out. If you guys are bullish on silver, it needs to break over that trend line. Gold had a falling wedge and it broke out on Friday. That's really good. Look for more upside opportunity on silver and gold, guys. VIX, if you look at VIX on the daily chart, we're in a falling wedge. However, it did break this little trend line. We're heading down, but the VIX is turning into a bull flag. Let me get rid of this line. We go up, up, up. Here's your flag. So that could get bullish. If the VIX gets bullish, based off this bullish flag, and breaks this upper trend line, if that happens, that falling wedge, which is bullish, the VIX will be screaming northbound. It should be a breakout, and that means the markets are tanking. Okay, that happened. And what we're seeing here on Bitcoin is we're releasing off the floor of the support line. Boom, the last 3 days going up, up, up. I see more upside opportunity there. So that's where we're at. Okay, let's get to some tech stocks of interest that I think you guys will appreciate and like. I spent a lot of time redoing these trend lines, so I hope you appreciate them. I hope you know. Well, so here's the issue. Apple on the daily chart is in a nice uptrend. As long as it stays in this uptrend, that is a bullish. That's bullish activity. Stay in that bullish activity. All is well. Here's the problem with Apple. Apple's at this support line. It should have rallied straight up. Here, we got to that support line. It rallied straight up. Okay, that is what we should have seen right here. Instead, we get to this line, and we pop up and then go sideways. Now, this is a high base formation above the moving averages, so this can get bullish still, but this was the last week has just been a lot of stutter stepping for Apple. And it's like, ooh, what's going on? Here's woe to Apple if we break that trend line. If we get below the 20-day moving average, especially that trend line right there, expect a lot of trouble for Apple. AMD. Symmetrical triangle, long as we can stay within here and pop higher, that we're long that's a good play to the upside. It's under pressure at this very moment, but it needs to stay above that trend line. If it stays below this trend line, it will get to this area fairly quickly. Amazon, big rising wedge, that's bearish, and a bear flag. Above moving average, it needs to keep going higher. But if it gets below this, you get your stop losses in place if you're playing Amazon. Baba, same thing. Big uptrend. As long as it stays in this uptrend, stay with it. If it gets below this trend line, we're in trouble. Baidu had a symmetrical triangle. It broke out Thursday. Friday, a little pullback, resting. Look for a lot of upside opportunity on Baidu. As long as it stays above this trend line, this lower trend line. Booking, huge symmetrical triangle. And just look for Booking to have a big move one direction or the other. Right now it's in this massive trend. See this big trend line, this big trend line, and it's in the upper part of that, so it has a lot to be dealing with soon. Cisco, huge symmetrical triangle, huge. It has a lot of upside. Let's see if it can do that. Woe to Cisco if we break down below that. Catfish is on fire, going higher. Stay with it if it stays above that trend line and the moving averages. eBay, Friday, big rally on eBay, up 6.5%. Doing really well on big volume. It is a rising wedge, though. Guys, if it gets to this trend line and drops, and especially if it breaks that lower trend line, we're in a lot of trouble. We have earnings coming up in latter part of this month. Facebook, bear flag on support. Be careful with this one. This one could break down very soon. Google is at a support line. It's heading up. Big rising wedge. But that may not come into fruition until up here somewhere. If it gets up here and doesn't get above this trend line, look for it to break down. It's in trouble. Google with an L, same thing, same thing. GoPro had a massive run Wednesday. Catching its breath Thursday and Friday. This is good. If you're in GoPro, stay with this. Look for a high base breakout to the upside. Microsoft, big bear flag at support. If it breaks down, we're in a lot of trouble. We have earnings coming out on the 22nd, so don't hold over earnings where it's not great. MU at major resistance, major resistance, but we have these higher swing lows. If it breaks northbound, look for a big move to the upside. However, if we start to drop down here and we break this lower one, look for a big rally to the downside. Netflix, a lot of consolidation going back several months here. So it's had a nice little run here. I see more consolidation, but we have a rising wedge. So if it breaks this lower trend line, watch out. NVIDIA, big uptrend. As long as it stays in this uptrend, stay with it. It's a long-term hold. Oracle here, big rising wedge. No trend lines. I don't know. Wait a second. No trend lines. I see one I want to put in right now. I should have this trend line in here. Go back. Yeah. So there's my trend line. So it's a rising wedge in a huge expanding. I mean, it's kind of a broadening formation with this trend line, but it's a rising wedge. Just look, as long as it's creeping to the upside and stays above this lower trend line, you're okay. PayPal, big consolidation, but we got a nice uptrend to the upside. Stay with it if it stays above this trend line. Long-term hold. Roku has been on fire, guys. Last 2 weeks, just on fire. Stay with this if it stays above the 20-day moving average. All is well with this one. Shopify, rising wedge. It's bearish divergence, bad news, but we have a long way to go before we get up here to the must make a decision area. Must make a decision area. Snap is at resistance, so we have a rising wedge. We're at resistance. The only way to make this bearish formation bullish is to have a breakout above it, and then the rising wedge will dissipate at that moment. And we have earnings coming up fairly soon. It looks like on the 20th. So just watch out for that. Watch out for that. But it looks like it's going to want to break out to the upside, so that'd be good for that. Tesla is in a, this is so awesome, guys. It's a big uptrend. It is wedgy, though, but we're so early in it. It looks like just a good uptrend. But look at this bullish pennant. It's a large symmetrical triangle. Guys, this is ready to rock and roll right now. So look for a big move on Tesla. It's coming. If you play options, look for a spread or something. So this, but they're probably building in that volatility already, but it's ready to explode. Well, it looks like Twitter. If you look at Twitter here, big high base. We broke this trend line. Look for more upside opportunity there. All is well. Never hold over earnings. Next few weeks, we will come into earnings season. There you have it. There you have it. So before I get into telling you what I'm doing today, which is super cool, I'm getting ready to leave for this. A couple things for you. If you don't know this, Romulus, 14 years hedge fund manager, okay? Marked Meerkat, the best day trader I have ever witnessed. Both of those individuals, we are blessed to have both those individuals as trainers who will take out 10% of their time. Okay, we're traders first, educators second. 10% of their time. In other words, out of 30 days, we only take out 3 days that we carve out to help you all go from hobby trading to professional trading. You guys are just playing right now. If you are just watching YouTube things and reading a book here and there, you're still in play mode. If you're not wanting to stay in play mode, wanting to ratchet things up and be more disciplined and treat it like a business, and you want to learn how to trade these markets coming up with the election, check us out. Click the link below, fill out the form. So let's have a chat. Let's, just talk about it. All right. Oh, the reason I brought up the Romulus and Meerkat is because when you're mentored, you're going to be able to get mentored by both of them at 2 different times. Okay. So, and then you doing that other time with the other mentor comes at 0 cost to you, which is a good thing. But I have this idea, if you're even still listening, I've got this idea. I haven't told anybody about it yet, but it's just something I'm thinking about. Right now at this moment, I don't know how long Romulus will want to be an educator, but he is ready now. He's like, I'm geeking out about educating people, you know. So I want to take advantage of that. Will he be with us for months or years? I don't know. It's really up to him if he wants to keep teaching or not, right? But while we have him, it's like, woo, anybody and everybody should want to jump in to get mentored by him. But anyway, so I'm looking to ratchet things up a little bit. And here's my thought. And you guys tell me if this is something that you might be interested in. The idea is, if you recommend somebody to us and they register as a student of ours, you get to come in free. Your tuition is taken care of. Think about that. I got thinking, a lot of you guys are in like trading forums or you have followers on social media and you were to make a post, hey, and your post was something like, hey, I'm really interested in getting mentored through Grok Trade. Is anybody else interested in it? And they're like, oh man, if you're going to do it, I'll do it too. And if they do that, you get to come in free of charge. Free of charge. We don't have to tell the other person that, right? As far as they know, you paid your tuition. And by the way, we keep our tuition it's as low as you can get because we don't have brick and mortar. We don't have that. So we keep our expenses way low, and we do small groups of people. So instead of one-on-one, so we can bring the costs collectively down quite a bit. Nobody can touch us. That's why the company I used to train for and teach for tried to buy us. I said no. Man, because the company I work for, they charged $25,000. They wanted a button on my website. They wanted to buy my website and put a button on there, pay $25,000 for trading education. I said, that's silly, guys. No. That's true story. True story. But this is something that I'm after, and this is what we're not after. This is what I'm doing. I have a buddy of mine who I go to church with. He's a blacksmith. He's firing up the forge right now. He invited me to come over and play. I get to do forging, blacksmith stuff. He goes, I can make a knife if I want to, or whatever. Make something for the wife. How cool is that? I'm a guy that likes to do experiences. I like to shadow people. Man, like if you have a really, really cool job, you should tell me. I'd like to shadow you. Anyway, so I like to shadow people and ride-alongs for cops. I've done state, county, metro, city. So I've done a lot of ride-alongs with police. I like that. I did Lifeline, the helicopter, paramedic. I've done a neurologist, and almost there was a doctor who does she does breast surgeries, and I almost got to be in the operating room and do that, but she moved away and it never happened. But I thought, how cool. I've sat through oral surgeons and watched their surgeries. I had a guy who did lawn care, and I just went and worked with him for a day. Didn't charge him anything. I just wanted to experience what other people experience in their jobs, right? And being a stock trader, it gives me the opportunity to have that freedom to do whatever. So anyway, it's just a thought, right? If you guys really like the outdoors, like if you do, if you're a guide for hunting or fishing trips, I don't know. It's just, I'd geek out on shadowing you. Yeah. So anyway, if you want to get mentored by us and you recommend somebody to us, I think that I'm willing to do that. I need to talk with everybody else, the team, but if they come in and we can credit that person to you, boom, you get your mentoring free of charge. So there you have it. Hope this was of benefit to you. If so, I love the comments. Let me know what you think about the markets and the elections down below. And let us all learn from you too. Give us your thoughts and ideas. Let people be respectful, and let's talk back and forth on, you know, what we think might be happening coming into the future. Watch the charts, learn the charts better than anybody else out there. Whoever knows the charts best wins, period. That in the story. Indicators and oscillators are secondary. You want raw data. Price action volume is raw data. Whoever reads raw data best wins. You need trained by masters. I don't care if it's us or not. I just think we have the best thing out there, period. I say that not just because I'm biased, because I've been in the industry a long time. I know what we have, and that's why, you know, people come to us. We don't advertise. You don't see ads for us. People find us. People recommend people to us. So knock on wood, you know, feel blessed by that. So anyway, hope you guys are well. And foliage here in this autumn time is beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye.